Hi everyone, this is Saara Anand. Welcome to this session on Java Object Oriented Programming. Oops. Well, this is going to be a very basic and introductory session on what is object oriented programming in Java and what are the four pillars of object oriented programming. Well, firstly, talking about what is object oriented programming in Java. Java is a powerful object oriented programming language that organizes code around objects and classes mirroring real world entities and relationships. Well, Java is a high level object oriented programming language, as we all know, and object oriented programming helps Java to organize code around objects and classes that helps it to mirror real world entities and relationships. Well, OOPS revolutionizes software development by making code modular, reusable, and significantly easier to maintain and scale over time. Well, basically, object oriented programming deals with organizing code into reusable blocks. Well, this way, if you are writing one part of the code and if you would like to reuse that part of the code, you can reuse that entire class itself. So, this way, object oriented programming helps Java in making the code modular, well structured, reusable, and easier to maintain and scale over time, as the entire code would now be divided into relevant classes, objects, and methods and functions which are performing certain activities. Well, object oriented programming deals with classes which are the blueprints for objects, objects which are these instances of classes, and methods which are behaviors and actions that are being performed in a particular object of the class. Well, now that we have understood what object oriented programming is in Java, talking about the four pillars of object oriented programming in Java. Well, the fundamental principles OOPS forms the foundation of object oriented design, enabling developers to create robust and scalable applications. Well, the first pillar, encapsulation, it refers to wrapping data and methods into a single unit while hiding internal implementation details from external access. Well, as the word itself says, you are encapsulating something or wrapping something within a capsule. Well, the same thing applies even here. It refers to the process of wrapping data and methods into a single unit. Here we are wrapping a lot of data and methods, all of them into a single unit while we are hiding internal implementation details from external access. So we are hiding all of the internal implementation details and showing only the content that is required to the outside people and hiding the internal implementation from external access. Talking about inheritance. It refers to creating new classes from existing ones to promote code reuse and establish hierarchical relationships. Well, very similar to hierarchy and how it works. Here in inheritance, we are creating new classes from the already existing classes to promote code reuse and establish hierarchical relationships. Well, if we already have certain code classes existing, we would be creating new classes from these already existing classes to establish a hierarchical relationship. So from the parent class, we will be creating new child classes, and that is inheritance. Talking about polymorphism, the ability of objects to take many forms through method overloading and overriding for flexible behavior. Well, if an object is able to take several forms, either through method overloading or overriding for flexible behavior, it is referred to as polymorphism. Talking about abstraction, well, hiding complex implementation details and exposing only essential features to simplify interaction, keeping the content very abstract. We are hiding complex implementation details, only putting relevant content visible. That is abstraction. Well, if we are wrapping several data and methods into a single unit, this is encapsulation. If we are creating new classes from already existing classes such that the code is reusable now, it is inheritance. Well, if an object is able to take many forms, it is polymorphism. And if we are hiding complex details and only exposing essential features, it is abstraction. So we can see how abstraction is needed for making the content relevant. We can see how polymorphism is needed for making the code versatile. We can see how encapsulation is needed for data security and space efficiency. We can see how inheritance is needed for code reusability and modularity. Well, overall, these are the four pillars of object oriented programming in Java. Thank you so much, everyone.